we look at what was collected that will assist us to produce an index. So we zeroed in on attitudes towards beating women. That was one of the domains that we looked at. We looked at human and social resource. We looked at another domain on household decision making, and the other one is control over sexual relationship, and then the other one is on economics. In economics here, we look at women who are working. So based on this, we looked at women in union and those women who are not in union. And based on that, we calculated an index, which at the end of the day gave us figures that we are now proud of having so that they can be used. So the figure shows us that out of the variables that we are looking at, we wanted to have a cutoff whereby a woman who is empowered is 80% of that. So at the end of the day, we found out that 29% of women in Kenya are empowered. So if you go to urban rural, we have 40%, 40.1% of women are empowered in urban, and about 22% are empowered in rural. So this shows that in urban, women are more empowered. We also looked at the domains in terms of their age, and we found out that between the age of 15 to 19, 34.6% of women are empowered, and in the ages between 20 to 29, 29.4% are empowered. In the ages 30 to 39, 28.8%, and 23.6% for the ages 40 to 49. So these are the statistics that we generated, and one thing is that, as you can see, I've just given you the statistics at the national level. There is a lot of work to be done to make sure that these statistics are provided at the county level so that we can make decisions at that level. Like we have poverty. Poverty, we know figures up to the lowest, the sublocation. So for us to make decision on budgeting and the rest, we need to give figures at the county level. So since my time is gone, I would like to say that these statistics will assist us so much in budgeting and planning for women. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samoei. And perhaps maybe you could let us know, can we find this data on the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics website?
Yes, we have put it in the website. However, the book is so big, so it didn't fit there. But we are yet to launch. We have volumes of books at the rail towers that we are going to share soon.
Those are very, very interesting. That's very interesting data. 40.1% of women in the urban areas being empowered, and 22% in the rural areas. Mr. Samoei didn't get to the point where he could be able to tell us what are those parameters that were being measured, so that one can be able to be, to know whether they are empowered or not empowered. This is why I was asking him whether that information can be found on the website. So I believe this is, information that, members in this room who I know to be PhD researchers, lecturers, and also members from the National Treasury, Crown Trust, and this is very, very important information. So at this point, I'd like to request Professor Kabira to be able to, or was it the earlier one that you?
Yeah, I think we need to get the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, at this point, maybe we could have reactions from the audience, a question, so that maybe you could ask all of them now, and then if you want to specify if you're addressing your question to whichever member of the panel, Or if it's a general question that they can answer, please let's do it. Let's just have everybody who's going to ask a question raise their hands. So we have Madam here. Anybody else? I think I saw another hand there, Madam there.
Yeah.
Yes, Daisy. Anybody else who wishes to raise a question? Because we won't have a second round, because obviously of the constraints of time. On some of the members who need to leave the panel now. I mean within the next few minutes. So kindly, if you have something to say, or if you think you'll have a question as we go, just pick your hand up. Okay, so let's have your... Yes, Daktari. Yes, that's 4. And then there's 5 at the top there. So let's have your question, Madam. He'll bring the microphone to you. This lady here. Please tell us your name and before you ask your question.
Good afternoon. Is it good evening? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rosalind Ndikwe. I work with the AWC in Rehab, and I'm so grateful to Crown Trust and we have having organized this forum. I'm very interested in this CGS. So Ronald, let me start here so that you can see me as I ask this question because it's directed to you. My question is, having provided a guarantee, first of all, I want to thank you for clarifying that you have not given the banks this money so that when we are selling this product or when we are talking to women organizations or women enterprises, we be very clear on the word go. So that people don't know it's a fund or it's free money. God should be able to understand that it's a loan which is payable and on. So my question goes, having provided a guarantee to the banks to help the MSMEs access loans under this scheme, is there a room to negotiate with the banks to issue loans at discounted interest rates or collateral requirements to make it more attractive to the MSMEs or women enterprises and encourage them to uptake these loans? The reason why I'm asking this question is because it has been a challenge even for women enterprises or MSMEs in general, whereby we say that the interest rate that the government and the banks issue these loans are very high. So hence discouraging the MSMEs to go for these loans. Now, the CGS having guaranteed this, it should be able to help or rather to encourage the MSMEs to go for this product. So is there a room to have this come down or rather the collateral to be discounted or even a single digit interest rate? Is it possible? Can we have this?
Thank you. Thank you. Can we bring the microphone here? Let's start with Daisy since you're closest to her. Then we go to Dr. Kitiabi, and then we have a madam up there as well as at the top there.
Thank you. Part of the question that I was going to ask is that one, but the other one is, which are the participating banks? Can any bank participate? And if so, how? The other thing is, our women groups, like now at Crown Trust, we also host the National Women's Steering Committee. And we are able to organize women in the different sectors, micro, small, medium. If we have initiative that we would want to be able to participate in this scheme, or rather benefit, let's say benefit from the scheme, is there a way that we could come and negotiate it with the bank, with the treasury, to actually make it a reality? Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kitiabi then.
Thank you very much for all the panelists. My question is to the finance. So what is the relationship between the credit guarantee scheme and the other gender-related financial instruments that now they've become too many? There's Biashara. I saw the other day the senator from Nairobi was talking about another one. coming up. So, I think the women who are watching especially would like to know the relationship. And maybe we have, sorry, my name is Dr. Kijabi from the WeHub and the School of Business University of Nairobi. I would like to maybe get engaged in a consolidation aspect so that we are all on the same page. That's very important. And then to somewhere, these statistics, I think they need to be put in a format that is more accessible. So maybe the WeHub Crown, we need to partner with somewhere to find a way in which some of these statistics can be accessed. And also made, as he said, they are involved. And then so that maybe we can have them put in a way that is more accessible. And then if some way you can just mention some of the variables that went into the economic empowerment, because I am finding them very suspect. Thank you.
Can we have the lady up on the just 3 rows above? Kindly tell us your name and then ask your question.
Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Karumu. I'm the WeHub and also a PhD student at the African Media Studies Center. And my question is related to what Rosalind had asked, because she talked about the single digits. But I didn't hear you give us any rates in terms of interest rates. What are the interest rates currently being offered? And then in terms of communication, how are you going to get this information out to women? Because the studies we are doing show that many women do not have information from even the other funds. So how do you ensure that they get them? And thirdly, what is the incentive you're giving to the bank to be able to push these loans out?
Thank you. Then can we have, is it Beatrice?
Yes.
Is it you? Yes. I'm not seeing very clearly from here, but I think it is you. Yes. So yes, let's have Beatrice. And anybody else who has thought of something as the young man comes down, kindly raise your hand so that you can put in your question, and then the panelists can respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Linda, and I want to thank the panelists for being very, very honest. And I'm saying they are very honest, especially Mr. Samuel, by showing us women we are just a by the way. That when there was no data then, you had to go back to the data and give us some solutions. So I'm saying that probably we need to have that data on the website so that we can access it, so that we can verify it. Because I actually felt that if we form 50+% of this country as women, then we are supposed to actually be given our due even when the statistics are being done. On the when you are talking, I felt that the women issues are not being tackled as they should, and the statistics are not coming out as they should. And just like the doctor down there said, we kind of feel that these statistics are suspect. We would want them to come out clear. On the issue of the guarantee, the guarantee scheme, how are we going to ensure that it doesn't become political? How are we going to ensure that it is not something that is just coming as a bait and it will not be used like the other funds, where we find even women taking the funds thinking, or not just women, even other people, thinking these are political funds so they don't need to pay. And how are we also going to ensure that the banks will release these monies? Because on the instances of Women Enterprise Fund, we know that some of the banks that got the money would not give the women the money, and they say like the money has gotten finished, and it is only when you insist, and some people women are not very good in insisting or knowing this information, that they would get the funds. They would first try to sell their funds, then they have the women. So what is it? Just like somebody asked, I think it's Jenny Karolo who asked, what is the incentive? Such that the banks will not feel like putting this fund under and they first sell their funds. And we would
so that you can benefit from this kind of funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have the lady who's one row below. And then we end it there so that our panelists can be able to respond to the questions.
Thank you very much to the panelists. I noted that most of the questions focused on, I am from the African Women's Studies Center.
Thank you.
And I noted that most of the questions really did focus on finance and things relating to money. But mine goes to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and it is very quick, especially because being in the African Women's Studies Center, I am previously also from linguistics. When you calculate empowerment, how do you define it? Because you will find that a woman whom you think is empowered is certainly not empowered, depending on how you are going to define empowerment. So I think that as we go through the document, we will be able to see how empowerment is defined. That my mother, my family may be receiving 100,000 every year from the sale of coffee in Kirinyaga. But all that money is sent to my father in Nairobi. But when we go to calculate, we will assume that that family is empowered. So I think that I'm just questioning how we define that word empowerment. And perhaps the question goes to the entire project, that we need really to find a clear definition of empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane. There's a question that has come from the online, somebody from the online audience who says, how do I access funds to expand my existing business? So I believe that the question is being targeted at you, Mr. Inyangala. But as we come to the panel to be able to respond, we'll begin from Madam Elizabeth. If there's anything that the audience said to which you'd like to make a remark or respond to, and then we'll go this way. Maybe one of the things I'd say is, Bwana Samoei, many questions have been directed at you, and they are seemingly tough questions. Of course, Mr. Samoei is here representing the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, not as an individual. So I just want to say that don't feel... please don't feel, harassed. I think the questions are coming is because people want to know how did you arrive at that, and that also means that the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics really has a lot of work to do to communicate to the public. So with that, I'd like to ask the young man who's, so that we can move the microphone along. Just start from here, please.
Questions were directed to the credit guarantee scheme by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. But let me just add something about a whole of government approach. In terms of the credit guarantee scheme that you're seeing, that's actually tailored towards even meeting the needs of women, not directly, but by the design, is a product of the understanding that government has of the needs of women who are mostly in the SMEs. And therefore you'll find, and even through our ministry, what we were saying about gender mainstreaming is ensuring there's always a gender lens to many things, and Professor Kabira will attest, is that during the design of this product, we really did ensure there was a lot of consultation in its design and understanding, and I think the university also were involved to some extent, as many as other stakeholders. And that is what we've been pushing for as, the ministry in charge of gender mainstreaming. But specifically, I think around statistics, that has been recognized as a huge, huge problem, not just in Kenya, but globally. And it started with understanding that if you're, say, for example, to meet your SDG goals, how will you know where you are? how will you know you're in the right direction? How can you measure where you have? And just to answer Beatrice is that even when we talk about empowerment, you know, the SDGs have goals and they've even gone up to targets. There's a lot of support around actually looking at it, but even localizing and contextualizing that. And Kenya was part of a very major project funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates, UN Women with Kenya, around looking at disaggregated data. And that's where things started to fall apart, where we were talking, and that's, I think, the period he was mentioning, where if you're saying health, how will you know how women are affected if you don't have those statistics? And I think what the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics have been as a partner been very important, because those indicators and the things that they have developed, they've not developed by themselves in isolation. It's been a process through our gender sector working group, which brings a lot of partners, through a lot of organizations in terms of looking at what does it mean. And though he hasn't shared, it's something probably, you know, that can be shared and can be even another discussions in another forum where you know, I wouldn't use the word suspect, because everything is always about progress and measuring. And just a few also other people may have, you know, have gotten, it might not be perfect, but a lot went into that process, and it's an ongoing. I think it's something that we need to make work. Particularly what I'd like to bring, the emerging areas that have been supported around looking at GBV, that has helped in terms of being able to bring the data, being able to really drill down, because we found when they were announcing, you know, a lot of the things around GBV initially, it was general. We have X number of cases. But some things that were emerging, which were gender leaning, were not being picked. So I think Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and they are very active even globally, have been really good in terms of helping us to be able to do that, because the policies that then are pushed through by government, which are gender related, then become based on evidence, then become better targeting. And I just wanted to kind of support Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in saying they've really done a lot, but I think the more effort that government now is partnering with academia is even making things better. So I think just to add my support to my colleagues, and also just to welcome the partnership being extended by the WE and also by the Women's Center and CRON, that data is important. We have to have data, not just data, disaggregate data, but collected even at the community level. Just to finalize, is that one of the conference we attended internationally, Kenya was being lauded because they were collecting data at the community level. And that's the most powerful thing, because then you're speaking the language of the people in the way that they understand. And that was in the area around GBV. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it on to Mr. Rono and our sanitizer. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you for noting that the process of development of the CGS was very consultative. There was express communication with the center, and actually we received comments, and they were incorporated in our document, the regulations. So really we take this very seriously as a way of developing initiatives for this country. There are several questions. I think I needed to be the one to get scared. But let me attempt to respond to these questions. We began a journey as a country, it's a transformative journey. Of course, there are going to be a lot of learnings and experiences that will be useful for us to make appropriate amends and so on. The first question is whether there will be negotiated or discounted interest rates and then reduced collateral. You realize one of the main challenges of our MSMEs is the issue of collateral. The intention of the scheme is actually to begin to have the banks reduce collateral in a way that is going to be useful to the MSMEs. We do not say that the banks will do away with collateral, but because we have provided part guarantee, which is a portion of the loan, it is expected that that effect will be shown on the collateral. It's also expected that the pricing of the loan will reflect a discount. We have not set the interest rates but the pricing of the loan should reflect a discount. Because the pricing of loans is a factor of the risks associated with the said loan. So if part of the risk has been mitigated partially, it is then expected that you will get a discount. How do we intend to manage this? The banks are expected to report and demonstrate that that is happening. So that's the way we intend to look at that. Who are the participating banks is the question from Daisy. This is really the first phase of implementation. We are looking at growing the product and allowing as many institutions to come on board. That's the first thing I want to say. So in this case, what happened at Treasury, through our department and with the advice from the AG, we went through a public procurement process in light of the law. We asked all the 39 banks to apply. And of course, a number of them applied, about 14. They were evaluated using a tool that was developed between us and Central Bank of Kenya. And 7 banks were able to be picked. Among the things we were evaluating includes the issues of even gender. Are you able to demonstrate that you are doing youth, you are doing gender as a component, just to show how serious we take the gender issues. And the 7 banks, therefore, are a Cooperative Bank of Kenya, Kenya Commercial Bank, Stanbic, we have ABSA, we have Credit Bank, we have Diamond Trust Bank. Those are how many? NCBA is also among them. Have I forgotten one? My team, which is the other bank? I said Cooperative Bank, KCB. I said NCBA. I said Credit Bank, ABSA, Stanbic, and Diamond Trust Bank. Are they 7? Yes. Those are the banks that are initially implementing. With an intention, as we grow the product, we'll bring more banks on board. We are in discussion with other banks, some of them that either were not able to apply at the initial stage, so we are at advanced stages discussing as we look forward for more capitalization, and so that we are able to get them on board. And then the question of how organized women groups. What the guarantee schemes looks at is a business entity. So this business entity could be a group, as long as it's going to be clearly a business entity. If you went to the bank as a business entity, within the parameters defined, you will be able to access the credit from those banks that I have listed. Then benefits of the scheme. Actually, among the benefits we envision is reduced collateral and ease access and access of more funds by MSMEs, including women. How do we intend to make it a reality? We have a clear M&E framework to ensure that the banks are doing what we have agreed. And this M&E framework is in collaboration with the Central Bank of Kenya. And it's very clear that they will be reporting on a monthly basis, demonstrating absorption of the funds and that they are meeting the criteria so far agreed. And that they have signed in the contract that will be the case. And of course, along the way, if we discover one of the institutions is not able to deliver this product, we have recourse measures in the regulations which the CS Treasury can be able to apply. So we are clear that this will be reported. Actually, they are meant to book the facilities of the 3 billion within this, from 8th of December up to the end of this year. And they'll be monitored on a monthly basis. So that's clearly what we have done. The relationship between the CGS and other funds, other initiatives. The government of Kenya is involved in, of course, many other initiatives. We have the various funds that are in existence with an intention to make them more effective. Of course, you have heard all about that. But my task today is to speak about the guarantee. The guarantee is not a fund. and therefore no money is moving from government to banks. What the government has done is to provide a framework to guarantee. So the borrowers will borrow money in the normal way from the bank using the guarantee. The bank will assess you and the criteria given to them. And then of course you'll get the loan. You will keep to repay your loan in a normal way. In case of unlikely things, of course, that may happen, that's when the guarantee comes in. And we are borrowing from the best practices, such as South Korea, where this kind of thing has worked, Malaysia, where this has worked, of course, with the adoption of this to our environment. I think also we have the same guarantee scheme in Chile. So this is one of the things we want to do as a country, as a transformative agenda. Of course, the issue of consultation I have answered, communication and information. Of course, we are at the initial stages. These are some of the things we intend to work in progress to develop a number of things, including communication strategies. Incentives for people to push the loans out. The incentive is actually the contract and the reporting framework. Really, at the end of the day, it's very clear that the contract, you have to be able to deliver a certain amount in a given time as a bank within the understanding that we have. So the other thing is CGS and political. We want to, of course, this is our country, and we must all come together to build our country. We must do the right things that are done so that at the end of the day, we have good financial environment whereby you borrow your loan and you repay, and then when you repay, another person benefits. You know, the leverage factor is an outcome that comes from people borrowing and the same money guaranteeing another borrower. It is very clear that in our regulation, this guarantee cannot guarantee you twice. So we only guarantee you once. Until that loan has ended is when you can now go back and you have repaid it and then you get. So that's how the leverage happens, whereby you have borrowed, you go and pay your loan, and then we guarantee another one. We reduce your risk perception by the bank then lends you money. I think I've talked about political, somebody who has said expanding your business, as long as the one on online, expanding your business, yes, the guarantee scheme is for that, as long as you fit within the basic framework that we have defined, which the banks have actually been able to be given. You are a micro, you are a small enterprise, or a medium enterprise. Who is a micro enterprise? A micro enterprise is defined as the MSEA Act, which defines you as a business with a turnover of around 500,000 per annum, and then you have employees between 0 to 9. A small enterprise, 10 to 50 people, and you have a turnover of up to 5 million. Then, of course, a medium enterprise, 5 million to 100 million, with employees of 50 to 250 million persons. There are 250 people employed in your business. So if you fall in that category, and your business, you know, the MPs guided us appropriately, because of traceability, because we need to trace the borrowers, the MPs actually guided that you have to be a registered business for you to access this, so that we can trace the borrowers. I think I have attempted to answer all the questions. This is work in progress. Support us to be able to deliver a good product for this country. Thank you.
Just before you hand over,
yes.
The one part didn't come out quite clearly.
Which one?
When is this beginning? When can people go to the banks to begin to borrow?
The borrowers can actually go to the 7 banks and access the loans. This has been launched.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Thank you.
Oh, this is my second one.
Okay. Thank you very much for the questions. And the questions, I can put them into 3. One is the issue of accessibility of the reports and the data set. The other one is the variables that went into calculation of Women Empowerment Index. And then the last one is about definition on women empowerment. Now, one thing that I would like to make it clear is that when you are doing statistics, you have to look for the data sets that will give you the right values. We went to DHS 2014 because that is the data that could give us the variables that will go into calculating the Women Empowerment Index. It is not that we are just taking it lightly, but we are looking for the data that can give us the right figures. And you know, you can lie with statistics, but for DHS, it interviewed many women. You know, it is a sample survey. For example, women who are in union, we interviewed 8,857. Those were the ones who entered into the calculation. Those women who were not in union, we had 5,513. So whenever we are doing statistics, we look at the data carefully so that we can look at the data which has more variables that we can use. If you are aware that we had the 2015-16 Kenya Integrated Household Budget Survey, but this was meant to answer questions mostly on labor and issues on poverty. The data that can speak about women is the DHS. So that is what we used. Now, are these data accessible? Yes. DHS is accessible. It is in the net. You can get the data, the macro data, and use it. The report is in the KNBS website, but as I've said, the report might be so heavy, you have to be patient to download it because it has a lot of graphics. So if you want to check those, they are all in the internet. Now, the variables that went into calculating the index, as I've said, we have attitudes towards wife beating. If you go to THS, you'll find all these variables. Actually, they're about 5 variables. There are about 5 variables about if a woman does this, is she allowed to be beaten? Is a woman banned food? Is this allowed? So those are the questions that went, the variables that went into towards that domain. The second domain is about human social resource, and this is access to media. Women think that FGM should be stopped. Women has exposed for family planning information. Women has knowledge about issues to do with HIV. So all these are the variables that went into the second domain. The third domain is household decision making. And these are issues to do with women decide alone or with partner about large household purchases. These are the variables that went into that. And then the third domain is about control over sexual relationship. And here we have around 3 variables that went into that. The last one is on, the last domain is on economic, and this is women has completed secondary education. The next one is women has continuous paid employment. All these variables went into the analysis. And for us to say that a woman is empowered, we were looking at, we were considering a woman to be empowered if she is empowered in at least 80% of the total weighted indicators. So that is our definition about how we arrived at the index. I know statistics might be very hard, but at the end of the day, we are trying to come up with the next DHS, which will be done this year, and we want to put more variables into that so that it will allow us to get the right, the better statistics. That is the improvement on what we achieved. I thought the first thing we should say is thank you, KNBS, for coming up with this index, that it is the first one to come. And you see, we didn't do this alone. We partnered with the UNICEF and UN Women, and for policy issues, we were with gender. So this thing was done with well collaboration to arrive at the index that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Professor Moore. I'll request that Professor Kabira, do you wish to make any remarks based on any of the questions or what the speakers say?
Yes, maybe just one or two issues. I just want to say thank you very much for this, for the three presentations. And I think we really have accessed very good information. I'd like to say that, we are very lucky to have had the three of you. You are supposed to tell our story and tell it properly. That is why the questions of gender statistics are there. Because if the statistics you give the story that is reflected or as told by the women in this country, because you remember we said earlier, if you want to know about women and the economic empowerment, ask who? The women. You ask the women. And I think with that story, it goes now to Elizabeth, who is also sitting at the table where treasury is, where the money keepers are, and the president and other people. So they are able to use the statistics to actually, negotiate for better services to women because the story is properly told. I think that is why the data issue is so important. I think we were also very lucky to, to have the discussion with Mr. Roland. I don't know how to mention his name as well as Linda does. So I prefer to use the first name. The second name, I think I even had the correct, pronunciation from Linda. But I still have to practice, so I use Roland for now. But I think you have answered a lot of questions, and I think we are very happy about it. I also think it is very good that you actually mentioned Honorable Gladys Wanga, because when she had just started, her role in the Finance Committee in the National Assembly, she was able to come to, or recommend to Treasury, we need gender disaggregated information. And that actually connects women's economic empowerment with people in leadership positions. So I think it has been an extremely good discussion. And I think there were very, very good issues that were raised by the participants. And I do not think I want to add anything more. But one thing, I wanted to ask to assess for us what she thought about the credit guarantee, because she's the expert in entrepreneurship.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Kabir. So we're very excited about the various, discussions that have been there. I mean, we have seen the SMEs and the MSMEs and maybe we are out and another research needs to be done further. I'm privileged to chair the Event Managers Association of Kenya, and of course I support heavily the creative industry and the youth in that sector, and it's the future. And even in that regard, we've seen how UNCTAD have declared this year the Year of the Creative. So just with that, what is happening on the ground is totally different. And I'm hoping that this actually can be taken into consideration. Just about 2 weeks ago, I had one of our members who was just looking for 1.5 million from one of the fundings that, one of the partners, the very many, funders who've come into market that are giving money to the women. And one thing that they were told, they were not able to access that fund because their business has been showing above 5 million every year. And please note, last year in the event industry, we saw closure to today that has not been open. They just needed money to pay for tax compliance. They just needed money to be able to pay for the license for this year, to make them even do tenders, and it couldn't be accepted. Now, that is a woman who can talk and who's knowledgeable, and then they're told this has been turned down. My question is, what are the criteria? Some of this, a lot of the MSMEs like myself and others, they say before you succeed, you definitely have to, go through a lot of challenges. Some of those have been unable to service some loans or delay. Life of an SME, assume, even with the AGPO element, where I've gotten a tender to supply the one or two things, and then at the end of it, the money doesn't come within, 30 days, 45 days, and I'm again following up for payment for like even 6 months. Even if I took a bank, an overdraft facility, to be able to service that LPO, I actually go into debt. Now, sometimes I look for the loan to be able to pay that for me to revive the business again. So my bigger aspect around it is, I know they say vitu kwa ground ziko different, but then the bigger part of it is who's feeling the MSME's shoes. The real MSME on the ground literally has been at CRB, right? And then the banks might come and say they're doing your background check, and they will find that your name appeared there. Yes, they might be lifting up. Now it is heavy and hence the reason why even in our reshaping the Kenyan economy by unlocking the women's potential, it was key that one of our key focus areas was on tax, because people are running away. Every 1 a.m. in the night, I think the system at KRA sends emails to this SMEs about pay, and you have 7 days or else. At that time, they don't even have an office. The auctioneers are there. COVID has done a lot of things. People are closing. You don't know how to pay employees. Some you've let go. That is the MSME that we need to look at, the SME that we need to look at. But those come. Now, when you go into this institution, they tell you, let us see your bank history. With all those challenges and waiting for some payments and even last year, some of the stories were where we've talked to business women and businessmen and youth, the youth that are unable to even access. Look at this creative industry team seated there. If they went today to a bank to access money, see what they've done, enabled us. Who's speaking for them? They'll be asked, give us your history. There's no history. I just have an idea. And if I have an idea that we can be able to do a good, technological connection here whilst the other people are there, see what they've done. But will the bank hear that? There will not be. And then look at it. So you find we have a lot of venture capitalism that's happening. And in the context of that, we're also seeing that we're not able to help our own. So we're seeing a lot of forces, a lot of grants, a lot of people. And even in that, they come with their set policies that we cannot be able, they've not understood the market. So I'm loving the part that you have actually brought this. And I'm going to see you after this because I carry the hearts of many people. And just being able to say, how can we live and make this a dream that's coming true? Because we have seen in where I sit in as chair, and we've been tackling that with the board, we've seen like about 5 companies that have wound down. And it's been intervention after intervention, and it's not because it's not the business, it's because of COVID. And that's just those who can access that. What about the ones who are unable to speak? So let us look at that, and some of the things we'll look at, let them not be so harsh in the context of the requirements. Yeah, you can track me. I can give you everything. You have my ID. The Huduma number is in practice. You know where to get me. I can guarantee you and tell you, yesterday was bad, but I just need that strength. So that at least I can even pay my rent and pay fees for the children. I no longer have an office. I'm now working from the servants' quarter because the auctioneers came. We have built nothing from March last year, but it doesn't stop me from running the business. So how many will hear that? What about the youth who have no references or anyone that will speak for them? Thank you.
Okay, now, Ronald, you're going to be seen after this. That was a promise. And I think it's good that we talk about those challenges and so on because they exist. And I think that is the opportunity we have had today to actually share our own experiences. And that's why I gave the practitioner an opportunity because I'm actually quite able to theorize, and then the university gives me but then she's working also with entrepreneurs. So do you want to say anything? Where is the model? Did you wish to say anything?
Okay. Thank you, Madam. I think we feel you as a government. The critical one is that I think you've said we meet after this, and that I can promise I'll give you a few minutes just to listen to the stories. But of course, another thing you need to do, I think it's important to give government a chance, because this is just not more than 2 months old. So this is just a baby beginning to start working. There will be challenges, of course. There will be issues. But we must make it work. Kenya is known to be a trailblazer in many things, and we are trailblazing this one in this region. So I think the most fundamental thing, I think, is important to give the scheme a chance and be able to see what can it do. We wouldn't say that we'll solve all problems. It's only a few Wagangas from a certain part of the world who write that they are able to treat every disease, and they say that you need to visit them. So we don't intend to promise you that, but we intend to say that there will be something that will be happening on the market which can be tracked. And that to me is the most important thing. If there's something happening, can it be tracked? Can it be traced? For me, that's to me truly will be the most fundamental thing. I think I will stop it there and allow that we can have a small conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that answer. I also want to say that Mr. Ronald actually is responsible for that credit guarantee. And he has actually said that he's very happy to work with women entrepreneurs and women's organizations, to make sure that his dream also of getting the women to access the finances is realized. So I'm sure he would be willing to meet you and even meet us as a group. At least we don't have any secrets. Since we have talked about that, I'm telling them so that they know that actually you are ready to meet and to partner with the women to make sure that some of it could even be an issue that was raised a little bit earlier, that we can actually negotiate with the banks for lower interest rates and encourage the women to actually utilize that fund. So I think he's willing to have that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just as I, prepare to hand over to Madam Betty, so that then the next part of the program can go on. First of all, I'd like to ask the panelists to give 3 claps to our very gracious audience that has sat and listened and just participated. So I want to hear how loud that one will be. 3. Thank you. Now, if that is how loud the panelists can be able to clap for the audience, I'm waiting to hear how loudly the audience will appreciate the panelists for taking their time. It is a privilege actually to be able to have senior officers from 3 ministries from the government of Kenya seated here with members from the non-state actors side. And that all of us here together interested in one thing, it's a privilege. I think for many who can cast their eyes back, you will remember that things like this didn't used to happen. We have been educated, we've been informed, and we are very grateful for the, acceding to the request by Crown Trust and the UON Women Hub to be able to come and share what you have. So I would like to just request the audience, kindly let us clap for our panelists. Thank you for that. I believe that when I hand over to Madam Betty, she'll also be able to explain both to members here and to the online audiences where people can follow up on any aspects from any of the, the persons who spoke today going forward. Thank you, Madam Betty.
Can we clap for the moderator as she takes over? Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Linda Musumba, for moderating this session. And indeed, there was a lot of constraint of time, but you still did a very gracious job of ensuring everyone got a chance to speak. Thank you, Elizabeth, for representing the ministry. Thank you, Roland. Is it Roland or Ronald?
Ronald.
Ronald. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ronald. I think the credit guarantee scheme is a great innovation. In countries where it has been done well, it has really worked well. And so we are hopeful that everything will be put in place to actually make this one work as well as some of the very successful ones around the world. Samoei, as well, thank you for telling us about the Women Empowerment Index. I'm surprised I didn't know about it. I am both a gender enthusiast and I love statistics, so I was quite challenged that I'd never heard about the Gender Empowerment Index. And for Dr. Kafera, thank you very much for opening up the Women Economic Empowerment Hub under the auspices of the African Women Studies Center. Indeed, this has been a very good opportunity for us also to see what is happening in the university and to partner with the university. I just want to thank everyone who is in this room and everyone else that is logged online. Indeed, today we've done a bit of gymnastics, being in one venue and another, and I hope those who are with us earlier in the morning have also had an opportunity to join us in this session that has been held at the University of Nairobi at the African Women Studies Center, hosted by the Women Economic Empowerment Hub. This has been a very powerful discussion. You will agree with me that this last panel was sort of the icing on the cake that sort of says, okay, we have said all we have as women entrepreneurs, but when the rubber meets the road, actually, what does that mean? What is policy doing to support us? How is national budget being allocated to support us? What other mechanisms and programs are being put in place by government to support us? And indeed, we see that there is something that is happening. I think for us, one of the things that I've learned from these 2 days is that we need to ensure we are empowering ourselves with the information, that we are finding out information as much as possible. Clearly, there's a lot that happens, but we don't know about it. We don't know where to find it. And I think that's a challenge as well, in terms of one of the things that we can carry as a way forward, that where can women find this information? I think there's actually a case to set up a resource, a repository of information for women entrepreneurs, for women in business, for actually every aspect, so that people can come and find that information. Where there are people looking for all this information and it's not that readily available. I think that's one of the big takeaways that we've gotten from this. The other is that I think if I would borrow from our very first power talk by Dr. Patricia Murugami on the first day, is that one of the things she challenged us is do not fear. I think as women, that's one of the things we have to actually stand up and place ourselves out there and just say, we will not fear. We will move out. We will try our best. We will do everything that we can. We will trailblaze. And as we do so, we know we will find challenges, but we will also find opportunities that will be able to help us unlock the future as we go along. Just for the benefit of those who are here who have not probably had an opportunity to know what the past 2 days have been about, this is the inaugural Women's Economic Empowerment Forum 2021. Indeed, this was a great opportunity for us to start this conversation. Over the past 2 days, we've had 8 conversations, 8 sectoral conversations. The first one was on agriculture. The second one was on manufacturing. That happened yesterday. We had a session on technology and innovation, just looking at the power of ICT in terms of unlocking the potential for economic development. We had a session on the role of media in shaping the narrative around women and women's empowerment, and even in shaping the narrative more generally. Today, we also had 4 sessions. In the morning, we had a session on taxation, and the taxation as a tool that actually creates an enabling environment for SME to thrive. The other session was on financial inclusion and financial access, recognizing that indeed women entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs at all levels, micro, small, medium, and even large enterprises, they all face the same challenge, just in a different scale with regard to access of finance. Then we had a session on just the SMEs and what are some of the broader challenges that they face in terms of the operating environment in this country. I think what we had is, especially during the COVID season, small and micro enterprises have faced, they've really taken a hit. And part of the questions that you're hearing, Roland, being passionately put across to you is because the operating environment that we are in currently is actually a different one. We are in different times. And I think we're looking to government to actually sympathize with us as entrepreneurs, with us as women, and help us and pull us out. Because you need us to get out of the rut so that we can be productive and pay taxes so that you're able to provide the public good that is the role of government. So it's important that we see how that partnership can be effective, how that partnership can be relevant, especially in the times that we are in. And so some of the conversations that you're hearing really passionately here, it's not criticism, it's actually a cry for help. We are saying help. And I think that help is required for all of us for the survival of this economy. So without much ado and just recognizing that time is far gone, I wish to say that this conference has come to an end. All good things also come to an end. And we've come to the end of that, of this 2 days. It's been a fantastic 2 days. It's been a fantastic conversation, very enriching. And Crown Trust has committed to do this every year. I think that is indeed something that we should applaud, because this has demonstrated that this conversation needs to happen again and again and again. I think we need to see the same momentum around women's economic empowerment in the same way that there has been consistent momentum with regard to women's political and civic engagement. I think this is the time that we're saying actually this also needs to be elevated to the same level. We recognize that this would not have been possible without the support of all of you. Everyone who has logged in, as we heard today, yesterday, we reached over 2,000 participants who logged in online. A major success. Indeed, we see that there is actually a hunger to know more, to hear more, and that is indeed a very positive message that has been sent through this. So everyone who was able to log in, wherever you logged in, some logged in as far as counties that are really far from Nairobi. Out of this country, we had people logging in from Rwanda, from Ethiopia, from Afghanistan. That actually, we thank all of you, because it is because of your participation that we can say we had success. And for those of us that are in this room, thank you for coming. Thank you for your patience. We've heard that you were here from much earlier. Thank you for being patient and for bearing with us as we tried to put together the technology and ensuring that everything continued to run smoothly. This project, this conference is part of a project that was being implemented by Crown Trust that is called the Women's Voices and Leadership. The WVL project is funded by the Global Affairs Canada. So we wish to extend a special gratitude to Global Affairs Canada for making this conference happen, We hope that based on the success of this project, there will be more funding coming so that this can be cascaded even to counties. It can go around. These conversations can happen even at county level. They can happen at sectoral level. I think one of the things we definitely have heard is that in each of the sectors, though there are some sort of global issues that affect women in every sector, there are unique issues in the respective sectors. And so cascading these conversations at sectoral level, having sector-based women empowerment forums, having county-based women empowerment forums, I think is something that we need to push as a way forward, because this then will create the impetus to move the women of this country forward. Other members that are part of the Women's Voices and Leadership Project that have also been partners in this journey are Care Canada, Care Kenya, the Uraia Trust, CREW and Urgent Action Fund, and we wish to thank them as well for working alongside Crown in making this possible, in mobilizing their networks, in bringing to bear their knowledge and the information that they have, and making this a success. We also want to thank our financial sponsor, EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Indeed, EcoBank has demonstrated that they walk the talk, and they have their heart in the right place with regard to support of women, and so we are thankful very much to EcoBank. Other partners that have been also working with Crown Trust on this is the New Revenue Solutions Africa and Digital Oasis, who are also co-partners in making this event a success. And based on what we have seen, indeed, the story of success is real. We also want to thank CIO, who have been our event host. They have been the host, the ones who have carried the technology, the platform on which we have ridden. I think that also we need to really give them a big hand. By being able to host over 2,000 people, we've seen the sessions go through seamlessly. We had a few technical hitches yesterday, but today we've run more or less seamlessly, and so we thank them very much for that. The African Women Study Center, thank you very much for hosting us today and for giving us a change of venue. It's always good to just have a different look and feel to the day. I think I want to thank all our moderators. Each of those 8 sessions had a person who was moderating that session. They were responsible for leading the conversation, for guiding the conversation. They had to do research and ensure that the conversations that were taking place were coherent and relevant. Thank you, everyone. And on behalf of all our moderators, I think you're the only one represented here, and Zuhura as well, who are in this room. We want to thank you, and let's clap for our moderators for each session. They have done a fantastic job in putting each of those sessions together. We thank our panelists. Indeed, if we were all here and we didn't have the experts and dedicated men and women who came and joined with us and shared with us their knowledge, their experiences, their information, indeed, this would not have been a success. So we thank our panelists for each of those sessions. We also had 2 power talks, so we had 2 other experts who participated, not necessarily in a panel, but they are also part of the conference. So the panelists here will receive the gratitude on behalf of all the panelists who have participated in this inaugural Women's Economic Forum. So let's give them a hand. We wish to thank the people who have worked behind the scenes. Crown Trust had put together a team that has worked together to put this together. Many of these things that you're seeing, there's so many people that are working behind the scenes. I may not be able to mention all of them, but you too, we appreciate you very much. The technical team, Liberty up there, always helping us put things together, ensuring that we are communicating well. There are others, I'm looking for any face I can see, but yes, there are lots and lots of people who have worked behind the scenes to make this a success. There's messages that you're getting, someone is doing it. Oh, and Moses, yes. Is he here? Yes, Rocky and Moses, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Indeed, it is your excellence and effort that has made this a success, and we are indeed very, very grateful. Last but not least, actually, no, I need to thank someone else, and she's no longer here. Our MC who opened for us on the first day, Terry-Ann Chebet, she was sitting right here. I think she's had to leave. I also wanted to say thank you to her for doing a fantastic job in setting the stage and helping us open and launch the conference with valor, with a shebang, and that also gave it quite a good momentum. To the most important, actually, so it's not even last but not least, it's to the most important. Our deepest gratitudes go to Yahweh, the God above, who it is that has enabled us to be here today, who has given us the skills, who has enabled us to have breath. We are here equipped for a purpose, for a time such as this. Indeed, for us to be here today is a greater purpose than all of us. It is actually the hand of God and the will of God that is driving us, and we know that in this agenda, His name and His will be glorified, so that the women of this country can be like the women of Proverbs 31. We prayed this morning and reflected on Proverbs 31. That woman who is actually seen as a woman who has great stealth. She's able to organize her affairs. She's able to thrive. That is what we want to see of the women of this country. And so we thank the Lord God Most on High. And I hope I've covered everybody. Is there anyone I've left out? Okay. So now as we close, I'd want us to just stand so that we can close with a word of prayer. Okay, let's pray. Our Father and our God, Yahweh Elohim, we honor your name, we glorify you, we bless you. Indeed, God, as we started this journey, we did not know today, but you knew it. You knew how we would start, you knew how we would end. And we have come to this moment because of your great power. We thank you for guiding us. We thank you for giving us strength. We thank you for each and every person who participated and contributed to these 2 days. We thank you for everyone who has made it to be part of this conversation. Father, even as we close this conference, we ask that you may receive all glory and honor, because everything good, every perfect gift comes from you, O God. So even as we look back and see how successful it has been with all the conversations and all the information that has been shared, Lord, we give you all the glory and all the honor. As we depart, we pray that you continue to give us wisdom on how to advance this agenda to the glory and honor of your name. We bless you. We exalt you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Yes, don't leave, actually. The panel, there'll be a photo session, and Liberty will guide us on who is in the photo and where it will be.
Wamama wa Afrika wahitaji upendo. Wamama wa Afrika wastahili heshima. Wamama wa Afrika wahitaji upendo. Wamama wa Afrika wastahili heshima, angalia sura yake, inahuzunisha, angalia macho yake, yanahuzunisha, angalia sura yake, inahuzunisha, angalia macho yake, yanahuzunisha, wamama wafirika wahitaji upendo, wamama wafirika wastahili heshima, angalia sura yake, inahuzunisha, angalia macho yake, yanahuzunisha. You deserve a lot of respect, Mama Africa, for the big role you play. You deserve acknowledgement, Mama Africa, in the community. You deserve a lot of respect, Mama Africa, for the big role you play. You deserve acknowledgement, Mama Africa, in the community. Oh, Mama Africa, hana lolote, anashindwa atafanya nini? Ana watoto wanahitaji chakula, mavazi na pia elimu. Oh, Mama Africa, Mama Africa, angalia sura yake, inahuzunisha, angalia macho yake, yanahuzunisha, angalia sura yake, inahuzunisha, angalia macho yake, yanahuzunisha. You deserve a lot of respect, Mama Africa, for the big role you play. You deserve acknowledgement, Mama Africa, in the community. Wamama wafirika wahitaji upendo, wamama wafirika wastahili heshima, wamama wafirika wahitaji upendo, wamama wafirika wastahili heshima, angalia sura yake, inahuzunisha, angalia macho yake, yanahuzunisha, angalia sura yake, inahuzunisha, angalia macho yake yanahuzunisha, wamama wafirika wahitaji upendo.